Hello, welcome to Wayne's World of Mandolin. I'm Wayne Benson, and today we're going to talk about the Nashville number system. It's been around, I think, since the late 1950s. I was reading a little bit about it last night, Wikipedia. One of the Jordanaires had, I think, a lot to do with getting this off the ground, but it sure has turned into an industry standard kind of thing. When you're going to be playing material that you're not familiar with, it can be your best friend, and it's pretty simple to understand. We're going to be able to layer this on top of things that I've covered in several other videos. I wasn't planning on doing this today. Most of the videos end up kind of being spontaneous thoughts for me. I have a list of dozens of topics that I want to get to, but this kind of thing comes up and then I feel like, whoa, I need to get to that now, even though the thought had never really crossed my mind. But anyway, a couple of weeks ago, I played on a recording session for the first time since all of the COVID-19 and social distancing things have been a part of our lives. And on this session, we were all wearing masks. When we listened to the playback, we had scheduled load-in times, to keep our distance from each other, even moving into the studio. But it was a lot of fun. Great music was created, and everybody had a great time interacting together. But the first thing that happened when I got there, I was given 4 different charts for the songs that we were going to record. Now, I had listened to demos of those songs, but I had no idea what chord they were going to be recorded in, nothing like that. And those charts were really a lifesaver. This also comes up a lot of times. My wife and I play music at our church, contemporary Christian music. And if it's tunes that we're not familiar with, they'll email charts to us, or sometimes we even write charts in the car when we're driving to church. So it can really get you where you need to be connected to the chord progression of a tune. So I have on the chart that you can look at, this is in the thumbnail also, the top half of that chart is actually a bluegrass standard, Blue Ridge Cabin Home. I'm going to just demonstrate that in the key of G. Before we play into it, if you know that tune, it's great because it can help you to understand the chart better. If you're familiar with 1, 4, and 5 chords, that's something we've talked about with arpeggio shapes, G, C, D. But we want to, really be able to identify any different chord that would come up on the chart. So here, another video that I've made about the most important shape, or what could arguably be that on the mandolin, with the major scale shape. If we're playing this in the key of G, and I start on a G note here, I'm going to play that shape. 5th fret D string, 7th fret D string, 9th fret D, 10th fret D. Then the same thing happens, 5th fret, 7th, 9th, 10th. There's the shape. So if you were in a situation and playing in a key signature and you weren't really sure, okay, what is the 4 of this chord? You might not be there yet. It's a fairly basic thing, but if you're not, let's use this shape. This just goes to prove how we actually do apply knowing that shape in ways outside of just playing over the shape on the mandolin, that we could actually lean on that to figure this out. I'm demonstrating it in G. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, what is that note? It's a C note. If you're not quite in touch with all that, another video that I have about note identification can kind of give you a nudge in that direction. But it is the 4th note of the G major scale is a C note. So when we see those 4s on that chart, we would have to play a C major chord. That would happen, again, with Blue Ridge Cabin Home, there would actually be an 8 count there, or 2 4s. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, now we have a 5 on the chart. more than likely you already know that that's going to be a D chord if we're playing in the key of G. Let's just play the scale this time. Let's start open and play the scale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're tuned in fifths, so that's pretty easy to see on mandolin, but just in case, a situation comes up and you're playing an E flat or whatever, always remember this system, because not all chord progressions are going to be as easy as this 1, 4, 5 just cut and dried right in a row. But anyway, that's where the D chord would happen. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Back to G, because they're the ones. So 1, 4, and 5 progressions, pretty simple, pretty straightforward. Hopefully just the shapes that you have with arpeggios moving on the fretboard or your Bill Monroe chop chord already puts you in a position to be comfortable with that. If you're not, then we could use this scale shape to help even grow in that direction more. So the bottom half of the chart that I wrote, we're mixing it up a little bit there. What's going to happen if we're in G and we see that 6 come up? For a lot of you, especially some of the earlier videos where I make a big deal out of the chord scale, that it's major, minor, minor, major, major, minor, half diminished. Back to the major chord. In this situation, with the Nashville number system, when we see that 6, it is not minor unless it says minor. That just says, all it is a 6. So we're going to play an E major chord. That's what would happen, again, for those 2 4 counts where we see those 6s. Okay, after that, we would have 2 4 counts of a 2 chord. Same thing. And believe me, you really need to, for the sake of modes and everything that we can do to really take advantage of knowing the scale, we need to know that that 2 would be a minor chord if we're playing the chord scale. Again, with the Nashville number system, if you see that 2, it's major unless it's wrote down to be played as a minor chord. So this is just an example here on the bottom half. Now the next 2 lines, 6 minor and 2 minor, that's indicated on the chart that those would be minor chords. So that's what you would play. All right. This just gets you what needs to happen with the chords. And at first, what most people tend to do is to be so wrapped up in looking at the chart that they forget to really play the song. If it's a brand new song you've never heard, the first thing I want to do is listen to the lyrics of the song to kind of get the spirit of what's going on with the way somebody wrote the song for a reason. And there's a particular way that this person is going to sing that tune. So you want to, your dynamics and all those things that are more important still need to be happening. You just don't want to blindly whatever the chart might be. You just don't want to physically play that chart and feel like that's a musical thing to have accomplished, because it isn't. And what I like to do is start to learn the song, this again in more of a recording atmosphere. If I need the chart at first because I'm not familiar with it, and you're still toying with ideas for the arrangement, I have some just basic notes that I put over in the column. Some people would write the chart from beginning to end, every single chord that's going to get played. Most of the music that I would be playing on in a session is going to pretty much consist of maybe a verse and a chorus. There could be a bridge section, or like I have intro and outro wrote down, that just that last line, 5511, would be what they were playing over in those places. You can kind of get by with a little rundown like that of the arrangement, because that stuff has to happen, that you memorize the arrangement and know the chords. And then hopefully by the time, if you run the tune, let's say a half a dozen different times, maybe you're not looking at the chart as much as you were at first, that you're listening to everyone else. dynamically. Maybe there's a place that the guitar player rhythmically, there's an accent that they're playing every single time, and you figure out something that works great there. That's not on the chart. It's more musical than the chart. This is just a way to get all of the fundamental, information that has to be there to play the song comes to you through that chart, and then you do more musical things than that when you actually play and invest in the song in those ways. So keep all that in mind, but at the same time, until you have, you want to get to the point that you could just listen to the radio and listen to a song go by and hear the chords and practice writing charts. If you want to be better at this, try to just write one chart a week. And it's okay at first if it's a really slow process. If you take whatever tune that you're listening to, and if you have to back the verse up, a dozen times before you figure out the chords and how long each chord is played, as far as representing if it's a 4 count or an 8 count, it could be a split bar. It could be changing chords every 2 count instead of every 4 count. I wanted this introduction to it to be a little easier than that. So find some stuff that maybe you already know the chords to. That would actually be a great idea, and write a chart for something that you can already play just to get better at this, because it's going to help us not just in those situations musically, but also to learn to calculate, if I'm seeing that chord, can I play the arpeggio or the scale or the overall tone that would represent that chord all over the fretboard of the mandolin? Those thoughts are going to be really important to an improvising musician. So you could be benefiting from this chart work in ways that you won't even realize until maybe as long as a year from now. But as always, it's not like you watch this video and then, okay, I've got that, I've sat through this video. It doesn't work that way. This will be months of thinking about this, and maybe in and out of it if something else comes along and you're going to go play and you have a particular body of material to work with. It could be a contest that you're going to play in. Even if you already know the songs, write charts for them. Put this on your radar as something that you want to get better at. It definitely can make a difference in situations where you're not familiar with music and you want to grow to that place quick enough to be a part of it. So trying to make it relate to your scale shapes, all those things will just enhance your knowledge of the fretboard that much more. So have fun with the charts.